It's a widely debated topic amongst comic book fans everywhere. What makes you worthy to hold Thor's hammer? Is it just being a good person? Is it being heroic? Or is there more to it? Well, we're gonna take a crack at tackling the age-old mystery here today on Comicisms. Welcome to Comicisms, your Asgardian Nerd Center. I'm your host, DannyMac. So before getting into what makes you worthy of Mjolnir, we should probably talk about the hammer itself. Thor, and Mjolnir itself, were first introduced to us in Journey into Mystery number 83 in August of 1962, where a crippled doctor known as Donald Blake found himself hiding in a cave during his travels in Europe due to a run-in with some aliens. Finding himself trapped in a cave with no way out, he struck his cane against a wall in frustration, transforming it into the mighty warhammer Mjolnir. The hammer itself is made of the mystical Uru metal, as the dwarves of Anaheim used the core of a star to mold a mighty weapon. It is believed that in the process of this, the star was being forged and was exploded and almost took out Midgard. That's us on Earth, in case you weren't aware. Along with it, about 65 million years ago, which might explain the dinosaurs' extinction or, you know, whatever. Mjolnir, of course, meaning that which smashes, is aptly named, seeing as how much Thor swings it around, you know, smashing stuff. But the real fascination with Mjolnir seems to be the age-old question: what makes you worthy to wield it? During its history, only a handful of people have been able to wield a hammer, at least in canon. Just to mention a few, there's been Thor, also known as Odin's son when he became unworthy of wielding it, Captain America, Steve Rogers, Beta Ray Bill, Eric Masterson, a 90s version of Thor named Thunderstrike, and oh my god, look at that jacket, Odin the Allfather, and of course, Jane Foster, the new Thor. Of course, outside of canon, there's been others to hold it, such as Storm, Black Widow, Superman, Wonder Woman, and so on and so forth. But to take a more in-depth look at what makes a wielder worthy of holding the magic hammer, we have to take into account what each of these characters have in common and which one of their traits seem more likely to be the factor for wielding Mjolnir. So just looking at these lists of names off the bat, we can see one constant: they're all some form of warriors facing their own battles in their own way. The Odin son is an Asgardian after all, which are a warrior culture and was raised to be as such from an early age. The same can be said of Masterson, a different version of Thor, and of course Odin himself as well. Captain America is a soldier with a noble heart and purpose, but is a warrior as well when it comes right down to it. Beta Ray Bill was also made to be a warrior, as he was made to defend the Corbinites at any cost. But Jane Foster? What about her? She doesn't seem to be a warrior at all, at least compared to the others, right? Well, we'll get to that in a minute, but first I want to discuss something else. First and foremost, Thor is a Norse god and hails from Norse mythology. Therefore, we can assume that down the chain of succession, Thor is meant to reflect certain Viking principles or values, as deities are oftentimes used as shining examples of what humanity could and should strive towards being. So in doing a little research, I discovered a set of values that the Vikings of old would live by, and I'll leave a link to this information in the description below. Most notably known as the 9 noble virtues, considered to be the values for a warrior lifestyle. The 9 noble virtues go as followed: courage, truth, honor, fidelity, discipline, hospitality, self-reliance, industriousness, and perseverance. Now, just by naming some of these off, you can already start to see a bit more of the similarities between the chosen wielders, right? So let's break it down. Courage first. Courage is important because courage actually applies to every part of your life. It takes courage to do what you know is right, especially when those around you disagree with your point of view. In our politically correct society, courage is more important than ever. Your personal values may be challenged on a daily basis. Standing for what you believe in can take a lot of courage. You must have enough conviction in your beliefs to stand for what you believe in and live your life by your own code. Now for truth. Truth is simply being honest about what you believe or know to be true and right. Simply put, don't lie. Moving on to honor. One could define honor as your internal integrity or dignity. Seems pretty straightforward enough. Fidelity. Fidelity, as used in the 9 noble virtues, refers to being faithful or loyal to God, to yourself, and your beliefs, to your family, to your friends. The warrior will defend his family and friends no matter what the cost because of his dedication to this virtue. Next up's discipline. These virtues or qualities are not perfected overnight. It takes discipline to live according to your own personal code of ethics. The true warrior lives according to his own code rather than according to what corrupt politicians or cultural standards dictate. This means that he must exercise a great deal of self-discipline. Next up's hospitality. Hospitality is definitely a warrior trait. The warrior is expected to treat others with respect and dignity. You must see others as people who deserve to be treated with respect and courtesy. The Vikings believed that sometimes gods would visit people in human form, and in being disrespectful to strangers, they could also be disrespecting the gods. Industriousness simply means having the willingness to work hard at whatever it is you do. If something is worth doing, do it well. Do it with pride and do it to the best of your ability. It's kind of fitting, right? Considering the hammer is also a tool which is used to build, or rather, a tool of industry. Hey. And now, Self-reliance. Warriors are, by nature, independent beings. That doesn't mean that the warrior doesn't like other people or enjoy being around other people, but rather that he strives to ensure that he doesn't have to depend on others for his survival. The warrior is responsible for taking care of himself and his family. This is his first and foremost duty in life. He is never comfortable if his family's welfare depends on something outside of his own control. And lastly, perseverance. Without perseverance, you will not be successful in applying the 9 noble virtues in your life. No one is perfect and you will make mistakes. In order to live the warrior lifestyle, you cannot simply give up and quit when you fall short of your mark. You must persevere, you must not give up. Now, these traits and qualities all sound extremely reminiscent of all the characters that have wielded Mjolnir in the past. And quite honestly, some of these traits personally remind me of Captain America the most, which is probably why he was one of the few rightfully beloved choices to wield the hammer during the Fear Itself comic event. Beta Ray Bill, Odin's son, and Odin, of course, all exhibit forms of these qualities as well. It seems that the answer as to what makes you worthy of wielding Mjolnir is simply to live by these rules, which isn't necessarily reflected in the comics as much as it is a callback to the culture from where the Asgardian legends came from. Pretty neat theory, isn't it? But hold on, what about Jane Foster? What makes her worthy? She's not a warrior in the least, right? Well, in a manner of speaking, yes. She is currently a warrior in her own fashion, against a very nefarious foe, cancer. As a person who's lost loved ones to this disease, I can personally tell you that the battle against it is not easy. Now, this sounds a little far-fetched and is no way confirmed by Marvel, but hear me out. It might just make a little bit of sense by the time I'm done. So, you ready? Alright, here we go. It was revealed that the new female Thor was actually Jane Foster, whilst in a state of battling cancer. She had never picked up the hammer prior to having this illness, so maybe in some strange way, maybe it was her decision to persevere despite her sickness that gave her the courage to say there must always be a Thor, and pick up the hammer itself, having fidelity to the virtues of what it meant to be Thor to the world. In doing so, she was extremely self-reliant, subjecting herself to the discipline of being Thor while learning how to wield a hammer efficiently, as she learned to do so by watching Odin's son do it throughout the years. In wanting to protect the people of Earth under the mantle of Thor, she displayed a certain hospitality for humanity and displayed a definite industriousness when it came to her work as an Avenger and Thor herself. You see how it all comes together? From these findings, we can conclude that the 9 noble virtues are, at least in some form or another, the basis for worthiness to carry Mjolnir, or at least as we can begin to understand it. Just note that this is in no way canon or confirmed by Marvel. It's just a fun discussion type theory in order to get comic book fans to think a little bit about this. But anyways, what do you guys think? Do you like this idea? And you think you'd be worthy to pick up Mjolnir, or have any ideas of any comic book characters that might fit this mold? Let us know in the comments below. And here at NerdHype, we bring you the latest and greatest of nerd news and in-depth Comicisms character videos every Friday starting later this week. So click here to subscribe or here to watch the previous Comicisms episode. This has been DannyMac signing off. And remember, believe the hype. Later.